Hello and good day. This is Corey from the BachScholar YouTube channel. I have a very interesting video for you today on Bach's Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. It's what I call everything you wanted to know about Bach's Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring, but were afraid to ask. It is a rather lengthy video, roughly 30 minutes long or so. I'm not sure because I haven't made the video yet, and I'm sort of improvising as I go along. So get yourself a drink, a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and sit back and learn about Bach's very famous Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring, which I hope to enlighten you a little bit about where it came from and how to make sense out of all the various arrangements and transcriptions that exist on this piece. Okay, so let's start. Anyway, I have lined up here, let me just tell you what I have here. I have, first of all, I have a book of chorales harmonized by Johann Sebastian Bach, collected and arranged in melodic order by H. Elliott Button, published by Novello. This is out of print, so you will probably not be able to find this anywhere unless you look very diligently around. It is out of print, so unfortunately I can't provide you with a link to buy this book, but this is what I use for my research in the preparing of Bach's chorales and BachScholar editions. So this is sort of my Bible, so to speak, and I use it all the time, and it's what I base my editions on, the BachScholar editions, because I find it is probably the finest complete edition, in my opinion, of Bach's chorales. It was published in, I think, 1922, but this here is a more recent one from the 1980s, but unfortunately it's out of print. So this is a good source material where I get my chorales from, because, you know, Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring is a chorale. Okay, and I'll explain that later. Then I've taken, there are six of Bach's harmonizations in this book, and two of them I put in one is in 24 easy 4-part chorales. It's number 13. So that's one of these original harmonizations by Bach. And there's another one in the 36 4-part chorales for Lent, Passion, and Easter. Number 36, it's the last one here. And they have different titles. So this one is one title, like Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring, the German title. And this is another title, Sink Not Yet My Soul to Slumber, which could be translated a variety of ways. So they have different texts. So they're not called the same thing, but it's the same melody, basically. The same melody played in different keys. Like one of them goes, the other one goes, so one's in A major, one's in B flat major, but there are also many variances with the harmonies and the voicings and the voice leadings and everything like that. So those are different. This is equivalent to, if you take the original here, the original melody, which is number 152 in this book. The original melody was written by Johann Schopp in 1642. This is over 40 years before Bach was born. So the chorale existed long before Bach was even alive. Many people think that Bach actually wrote Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring, but he really did not. This would be like if I came along and wanted to do an arrangement of, say, an orchestral arrangement of Amazing Grace. Okay, Amazing Grace has existed for many years before I was around, but I, as a composer or arranger, I'm taking Amazing Grace, the pre-existing song or hymn, and I'm arranging this for orchestra. And this is basically what Bach did when he wrote it in Cantata 147. This is the version we're all familiar with. This is the version here, a printout of the orchestral and choral score, and I'll provide you a link down below this video of this. This is the original in G major. It has that, and then it has the chorale here. The chorale part here, where the choir comes in and sings, is basically Johann Schopp's melody and Bach's harmonization of it. So that would be like if I were writing an arrangement of Amazing Grace for orchestra and choir, I would maybe have a little introduction. It would be my own introduction, such as Bach has here. That's his original melody. That's his original melody. Then you come along and you have the nice chorale melody here. That's not by Bach. Actually, Bach didn't compose that. That was by Johann Schopp. So this would be like the Amazing Grace that I would put in here, and this would be like the introduction that I write before the Amazing Grace. So I didn't compose Amazing Grace. So Bach didn't really compose Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring, the chorale. I want to make this clear because many people, many pianists and many musicians actually think everything was composed by Bach, but it really wasn't. He was adapting that to choir and orchestra. This is really an arrangement of an original which existed long before Bach was born. So we have 6 harmonizations here, and I have 2 in 2 of the Bach chorale books published by BachScholar. And then we also have Myra Hess's version here. Myra Hess. This is probably the most, or is the most famous arrangement or transcription of this. You can probably hear hundreds of recordings of this on YouTube. I have some water stains here, but it's very popular, but I'm not crazy about it. And I'll explain that. I'll explain myself. It might seem like blasphemy for me to not like this because it seems to be the most popular version, but there were things I didn't really care for in her arrangement, which led me to do my own arrangement of it, which you can, I have a link down there where you can get my arrangement, which is quite different from hers and quite different from all other arrangements. Anyway, Myra Hess, the great British pianist, in fact, you can hear her playing this. Myra Hess, by the way, this is published by Oxford University Press, so you can get this. I'll provide a link for that below the video as well. It's a strange notation. Strange notation. If you look at this, they have this version I have, at least. It might be different in other publications, but they have the quarter notes and eighth notes switched around so the stems are on the opposite side that they should be. I don't know if you can see that from the video, but the stems look very strange. It's hard to read. Really hard to read. It's difficult to read, and it's awkward to play. I mean, it's not impossible, definitely, but it just, I find it very cumbersome and to play. Now, that being said, Myra Hess's is a literal, virtually a literal transcription of Bach's original. Okay, so that's a good thing. Myra Hess was very astute and diligent. She took Bach's original and she basically transcribed that to piano. So Myra Hess's version is not really an arrangement. It's more of a transcription because it captures exactly what Bach wrote. So if I were to play if I were to start Myra Hess's version here, I'll play it really slow. That's very slow because I haven't really seriously worked on this, and so I'm almost sight reading it. I want to just slow it down. Now, what I just played here is virtually exactly what Bach wrote here. So if I take Bach's orchestral score here, I'm not a great reader of orchestral scores, but if I were to read exactly what Bach wrote here, if I took that, that's exactly what Myra Hess did here, except the only thing she's doing is she's adding octaves in the left hand, which is perfectly permissible. So from a technical point of view, it's an excellent transcription. I mean, she just transcribed it. She didn't really add anything of her own to it. So it's not really an arrangement, it's more of a transcription. And here's one of the reasons why or actually a few of the reasons I don't care for hers, is that Bach's original was intended to be more of an allegro style, faster. If you listen to my organ performance of this, below this video I'll provide a link, you can hear that, and also I have two links below of two choir performances, one by Tone Koopman and one by Nicholas Harnoncourt. You'll notice that their tempi, their speeds that they're playing are rather fast, faster than you're probably used to hearing this. And I've done a lot of research on Bach's tempi, and I've concluded that this Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring in Cantata 147, it's the last movement, should really be more of an allegro. It's very upbeat, so to speak. It's in G major, a very bright key. It has rolling triplets. It doesn't really have any fast notes like 16th notes. The choir only has quarter notes, mostly crotchets movement. So there's really no reason for it to be an andante or an adagio or a slow tempo in Bach's original. So Bach's original, I'm willing to bet, actually I'm willing to bet all my money that were Bach alive today and he were to conduct this, he would conduct it rather allegro in style, around 80. My tempo is around 84. Harnoncourt and Tone Koopman both perform it around 80. Tone Koopman a little slower than 80, I think. Harnoncourt actually a little faster than 80, closer to 84, which is my tempo that I take on the organ. So one of the problems with Myra Hess's version is that in order to play it well, in order to make music out of it, you have to slow it way down, which is fine. It sounds fine when it's slow. So, and that's the way we're used to hearing it, because when you hear it, that would be the sort of tempo I would play and that most people play when they play Myra Hess's transcription of it. That's much different than the way I would do it on the organ, on a Baroque organ, or the way that Koopman or Harnoncourt conduct it, okay? So one of the things is when you play it on the piano, especially if you do a literal transcription with Bach's original, as Myra Hess has done here, if you do a literal transcription on the piano, it's virtually impossible to play it allegro as Bach intended. Therefore, in my opinion, it requires a different approach on the piano. In other words, in my opinion, I don't think a literal transcription is the way to go for this piece on piano, which is what led me to my own arrangement, which I will discuss in a few minutes, but I want to talk about another one here. So anyway, and another reason why I don't care for minor Hesses is the notation. As I explained earlier, the stems are switched around and it looks strange and it's hard to read. Anyway, it's a good transcription. There's a reason why it's well loved, because it stays true to Bach's original. And then there is another version here which I find quite attractive for piano students of the intermediate level. Let's say you want to play the piece and this is way too hard for you. You just can't do the Myra Hess transcription. Then another transcriber here by the name of Beatrice Miller. It's a pretty close to a transcription, and so it stays close to the original, but it sort of simplifies things a little bit. But it still is pretty close, and I think it's a well done transcription / arrangement for intermediate level piano students. It's published by Alfred Publishing. I'll try to provide you a link down below if I can find one. So anyway, this here is a little bit simpler than Myra Hess's literal transcription of Bach. So I'll play a phrase from hers, and then I'll play a phrase from Beatrice Miller's. So. Phrase from here. It's a little thinner, but it's well done. I don't think it's necessarily dumbed down or made for dummies or that kind of thing. I think it's a well done transcription, which is good for piano students. Actually, I actually give this to a lot of my piano students and think it's really well done. If you're more advanced, then this might be the thing for you. Hear Myra Hess's version. Now, I happen to have a different approach to Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. What I've done, and I explained earlier how I think that this piece, when played on piano, requires a different approach. Okay, so in my transcription here, which is now available in hard copy, I actually composed this in 2015. It's now 2018, so it's about 3 years after I've done this, but it's recently come out here in hard copy. It looks like this. And I personally, I may be a little biased, but personally I like this better. Much better than Myra Hess's. Myra Hess's is a literal transcription. Mine is a romantic style arrangement. Okay, so it is what I call a concert arrangement for piano, and I admit it's not true to Bach's original. If you took Bach's original and compared it to mine, I would get a failing grade. I would get an F. Okay, but I think it's the music. When I play this on piano, I sort of long for a more romantic style, even a little slower than what most people would play Myra Hess's version at, and significantly slower than the way I play it on the organ, which for some reason I strive for a more Baroque tempo there, more of an authentic Bach Baroque tempo. Okay, so if you listen to my organ performance and then you look at my piano arrangement or listen to me play the piano arrangement, you're like, oh, gosh, there's a huge difference. So that's the way I approach it. I approach it as two entirely different pieces of music. The Baroque for the organ, and then this arrangement, romantic style arrangement, concert arrangement for piano. So what I've done is something quite striking. First of all, the G major, I've transcribed down to D flat. So I go lower. I actually shift the level, I shift the range down about that much. So the average range is lower than in the original, like in Myra Hess's. So in mine, rich. I think it's a richer sound. And also I leave notes out. Myra Hess includes lots of eighth notes or quavers, and it makes it sound choppy because that's what Bach had in the original. It's good if it's done allegro that way, but I've sort of evened everything out, and it sounds more like a nice smooth honey or something, very rich. And then you get to the chorale part. I've actually combined this melody with the chorale melody here. So I think that transcribing it down to D flat gives it a lower sound, and it makes it sound more rich for the piano. So if you take Myra Hess's, you have and if you take mine, and then it goes, the lowest note I have is significantly lower and richer sounding. And also it's less difficult to play. It's actually less difficult. So it's more romantic, more rich and romantic, and it's less difficult to play than in Myra Hess's transcription. So mine is a concert arrangement, and Beatrice Miller's is also close to a transcription, but it is simplified a little bit from the original. So let's see, what else do we have here? We have, well, I recently, this piece can be done so many different ways. And right now, actually, as I speak, I'm working on another version being published, which actually it's early October, and this will come out right in time for Halloween. This is Jesu in D minor, the saddest of all keys. And I take that from the movie Spinal Tap, when the guy's sitting here playing in D minor. And anyway, listen to this. It's quite amazing the way it sounds in D minor. So if you take nice. I like that. Anyway, what I've done basically is I've taken this arrangement, my concert arrangement, which is in D flat major. Actually, it uses a lot of black keys, so it's easier to play because of the black keys. I've taken D flat major and I've just transcribed it to D minor. So I've taken out the 5 flats, I give it 1 flat, and voila, you have D minor. It's a much different sound. I really love this version, actually. It's quite a unique and amazing mood created. So right now as I speak, this is being published. So very soon it will be available for purchase. I'll provide a link down below this video. So that's in progress right now. Also, it's such a great piece that I have something here, another version that I've composed that is not published yet, but this is Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring Etude, and it is in my set of ragtime Bach chorales. So I have this so it's sort of a very lively piece with the melody on top and ragtime style left hand. Anyway, I haven't played this for a while, so I'm not going to embarrass myself and play it for you right now, but I think I have a video of this you can listen to. But this is not published yet, but I'll still be working on this and publishing all of my Bach chorale rags, as I call them. So anyway, this is quite a lot of things. Let's just recap everything here. First of all, Bach did not compose the chorale, Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring. It was composed by Johann Schopp in 1642, over 40 years before Bach was born in 1685. So, and Bach himself harmonized Schopp's melody 6 different times. At least I have 6 different harmonizations in this book, complete book of chorales harmonized by Bach. I include 2 of them in 2 of my volumes of BachScholar, the 24 easy 4-part chorales and the 36 chorales for Easter and Lent. You have the original here, that's Bach's original. You have Myra Hess's version, which is very close to the original, but in my opinion doesn't work, it's okay on piano, but I think piano needs something else, which led me to this romantic style version in D flat major. And then you have Beatrice Miller's very nice arrangement for intermediate level students. And you have my newest version here, Jesu in D minor, the saddest of all keys. And you have Jesu, Joy of Man's Desiring Etude, which is a ragtime etude on Jesu. So you can do a lot of things with this beautiful melody. I just want to recap I just want to finish this off with a very interesting story on how I came up with this arrangement of mine in D flat major. Okay, D flat major, 5 flats. For those of you that play piano, you know it's actually easier to play with 5 flats than it is on all white keys. So, a very interesting story. I was teaching the Clair de Lune of Debussy. And I was teaching that once, and I was trying to a student, and I was trying to think, okay, Clair de Lune is 9/8 time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2. Okay, so you have 9. So you have 3 slow beats per measure. And I was trying to think, well, sometimes in teaching, it's actually easier to pick something else that the students can relate to. So I was trying to think, well, let's see, when I teach Clair de Lune and try to explain 9/8 time, for those that don't really know it, I'm trying to think, well, what else has 9/8 time? And I was saying, oh, Jesu, joy, man's desiring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. So 9/8 time, although it's a little faster. So I was thinking, wow, Clair de Lune and Jesu, joy, man's desiring, both are in 9/8 time. And so what I did was I took the slow tempo of Clair de Lune, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I took D flat major, which Clair de Lune is in, and then I was thinking, oh, wonder what would it sound like if I took Jesu, joy, man's desiring and sort of fused it in there. So I started improvising a little bit, and I thought, well, messing around. It was a fascinating thing. Well, I was sort of going from one to the other. Really quite unique and kind of strange, but that's how I came up with D flat major. I was actually playing Clair de Lune and linking it with that. My tempo for Jesu, joy, man's desiring now, it's a little faster than that, what I just played. So it's... That would be a little too fast for Clair de Lune. But anyway, that's how I came up with it. Very interesting story about how that was conceived. So I hope you got something out of this lengthy video on Bach's Jesu, joy of man's desiring. I have links below where you can get scores, you can get some music. I also have some links of performances of these of Harnoncourt and Tone Koopman, and links to where you can get my arrangement and all that. So until we meet again, bye.